football continues to rear its head. Welcome into the next edition of the Stateline Sports Reporters podcast. I'm Cole Johnson. Now, as you may have seen on Wednesday, we made the trip to Wise, Virginia to sit down with new head coach Gary Bass of the UVA Wise football Cavaliers as they're ready for his first year in their upcoming season. They are now officially in the first week of their spring session, but we make the move across state lines now to Tusculum University for another first-year head coach. And it's not just his first year at Tusculum, but first time as a head coach ever in his illustrious 30-plus year career on the sidelines. Billy Taylor took the head job at Tusculum back in December, was officially introduced at the turn of the new year in early January, and we get to sit down with him as Tusculum is now in their third week of spring practice. We go anywhere from his first days growing up with football with the influence of his father to all the head coaches that he worked with that gave him a mentorship that led him to where he is today, how he ended up at Tusculum, and what to expect and what he plans to bring to the program for the years to come. Take a listen. So now I'm with Tusculum head football coach Billy Taylor as they're about to take the field in just a little bit here for practice number 7 of the spring session so far. Yeah. Man, it's cool to be out there and playing some football, huh?
It is. We have practice 7. We're almost halfway through. We've had 6 good days of learning and getting to know our system a little bit and just the way that we coach things up. And you know, it's every coach is a little bit different in how they do things, and our guys are doing a great job of learning the way we think things should be done and having a lot of fun while we're doing it.
Right, so through this, we talked to you last week a little bit, but through this spring session, what are some of the main, things that you want to get across to your players here in this time frame before that spring game and before the workouts through the summer, before you take that season opener in the fall?
Sure. Well, it's all about accountability with us, and it is probably with every team in the country. But them knowing the importance of them taking care of their job, and that they have to have a responsibility to their teammates, and they've got to count on their teammates to do their job, and their teammates have to count on them to do their job. So it's all about accountability, assignment, alignment, technique, and those are the things that you try to teach in spring ball every year.
So we have a whiteboard behind us. I don't know if there's any X's and O's up there, but from your coaching experience, you've been doing it for quite some time now. I think it was 20, 30, something like that, exact number of Division I football experience, correct?
Yeah, 35 years already. It's gone by in a hurry, Started back in 1989 as a graduate assistant at Southern Mississippi, and I've been doing it ever since, and for the last 23 years as a defensive coordinator, all at the FCS level, working at East Tennessee twice, and Elon University, Tennessee Tech, UT Chattanooga. So I've been all around the Southern Conference for sure.
Right. So you've had quite a bit of roots here in this region of the country. I know you said you grew up in Ohio, but you've been down here the majority of your life. What's special to you about football here, especially in this region?
Well, we moved to East Tennessee when I was 9 years old. Grew up in Morristown. Went to Morristown West High School, and I've gotten to know, over the years of 30 years of recruiting East Tennessee, that it's good football here. The football coaches here do a really nice job at the high school level. But I love being here in the mountains. The people are just, some of the nicest people in the country. And so it's a place that I've always wanted to stay around. And I had, a tremendous amount of loyalty to my alma mater and always wanted to stay around there. And when this opened up for me in late December, it was really just kind of the hand of God, because I could stay around Johnson City. I'd stay in football and still live in the house I've been living in for the last 12 years or so. And so it's just been a real gift, and I want to honor it.
Does it allow you to put more focus into your job and the football when you're not I wouldn't say worried about moving around the country and having to get accustomed to different areas, different people? Does it help you and you feel more comfortable that you've been able to be basically in the same area?
Well, sure, and everybody's got their own goals and aspirations whenever they get into a profession. And mine was never to be the head coach at Notre Dame or anything like that. I wanted to stay in East Tennessee and really at my alma mater and be there as long as I could. And I, never really had a resume. I wanted to stay at the same place and, hopefully affect lives in the positive manner and help young men from 18 to 22 navigate those crazy waters that are their college years and try to get them better prepared for life. And that's really why I'm in this profession. And, so far so good.
When you were hired back in December, before I got a chance to ever talk to you, talking to Josh Ely, Director of Athletics, and he said that, there was 100 applicants to this position, and you were just one that jumped off the board, and based on, the idea of faith, family football, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you that you were able to jump off the board like that to them, and they felt that you were the perfect fit for this position?
Oh, it means everything in the world that, somebody would have that kind of respect for you and that kind of trust for you to give you the reins of their football program. And it's something that means a lot to me. And like I said, I want to honor that by doing the best job I can possibly do and take these young men that are here and better prepare them for life. And like I said, make a difference in their lives, because that's really what coaching's all about. It's not just X's and O's. We're life coaches as much as we are anything.
Now, fast forward a couple of weeks after the hiring, and then you're in your introductory press conference. One thing that stood out to me that you said was you're kind of sending a message to your players like, to win championships, you have to be able to run the football, and you have to be able to stop the run on the defensive side, and you're a defensive coach.
Uh-huh.
Truly, how important can you do that to everyone? How big that is for you and the fabric of your being of football that you've had for the last 30 years, Coach?
Sure, and really my football roots go back to Mike Ayers, who was at first a position coach for me at East Tennessee State, was our defensive coordinator while I was playing, and was my head coach the last 3 years I played. And that comes straight from his philosophy as well. And he had a lot of success with it down at Wofford. They went to the playoffs, I think, 12 times while he was there. They named the field after him. And, not everybody gets that, But, same kind of philosophy again. He had a lot of opportunities to go to bigger schools and coach at the highest level. But what mattered to him was being stable at one place and making it as great as he could. But he did it with those things, running the football on offense and stop and run on defense. And it's a great philosophy. If you look at it, the champions at just about every level of football, those are the two things that they can do. I look back to year before last when Georgia played TCU in the national championship, and TCU had a bunch of numbers coming in, but whenever they had to run the football or stop the run against Georgia, there was no match, and I've been very, very blessed and lucky to have Wade Lang come here as our offensive coordinator. Coach Lang was the offensive coordinator at Wofford all the years that Coach Ayers was there, and came out of retirement to come help us here. And they probably led the nation in rushing more years than not. They probably averaged around 300 yards a year or 300 yards a game every year. And I know when I had to coach against it, how hard it was to defend. And so I always said if I ever became a head coach, that's the type of offense I'd want to run. So whenever I got the job, I called Coach Lang up and said, hey, who would you recommend that I go after as an offensive coordinator? And we talked for a couple weeks, and then one day he just said, hey, Coach, if you want me to, I'll do it for you. And I said, well, can you be here tomorrow? So, but but having him around and just watching him with our players, you can tell. You talk about somebody who does this for the right reason. Wade Lang does this for the right reasons. He's a life changer.
Now, how important is that, especially as a coach that has more of a focus on one side of the ball, your defensive guy, important to bring in a guy that has the offensive mind like Coach Lane does, and how important is that camaraderie? You guys will work together. Does it take some of the weight off your shoulders?
Oh, no doubt. But what it does too, I mean, Coach Lang and I have known each other. He was my position coach my senior year at East Tennessee State, so we've known each other for 40 years. And there's a familiarity between us, and I look at him as like a co-head coach for me. He should have been a head coach. There's no doubt about it. Whenever Mike Ayers retired, I'm not lonely in saying that he should have been the next guy up, and it didn't happen that way. And I just feel blessed to have him around me.
Now, you talk about all your experiences coaching, and it's been 35 years, and defensive coordinator, doing recruiting stuff, coordinator, that kind of thing. Now it's your first gig as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
You're the man in charge. To you personally, what does that mean to you? That you're taking a different step, trying something different, and being able to be the face of the program as the head coach.
Well, the thing is, over the years that I've worked for great head coaches. You look at Mike Ayers for one, but Carl Torbush, who was just an outstanding man and football coach in all the places that he had been. Watson Brown was a head coach in the SEC for 5 years at Vanderbilt, and was a head coach at several different spots in FBS football. I worked with him for 6 years. Randy Sanders, working with Randy day in, day out for 4 years, was a great experience. And Paul Hamilton, when he was at East Tennessee State. I've just been very blessed to be around some very good head coaches. And what I'm trying to do is take the best part of each one of them and the things that I learned from them and put it all in one big ball, and the main thing that all those people have was a great care for their players. And so that's number one for us. We want to coach our guys in a manner that we'd want our sons to be coached. So we're taking that approach to it. When it comes to being the head coach, when you're an assistant coach, there's always things that you'll see that you'd say, I'd like to see if I could do it a little differently here and there, So it's my turn to kind of say, well, we're going to do it this way, and we'll see what happens, But everything's good while we're undefeated. So till August, September, I'm not getting a lot of second guessing, but I'm sure I will the first time we lose a game. But that's part of being in the arena,
Right.
As a defensive coordinator, you hear people yell at you from the background and stuff, but you just got to let that all go.
Right. Like you said, kind of comes with the territory of being a head coach. You got to put a lot on you and take the hit for a lot of things. What are some other challenges that go along with that, aside from your experience as a defensive coordinator?
Just setting the tone for the program. Day in, day out. Everything kind of rests on your shoulders, whether it's the scholarship numbers and accounting for all that, raising money, budgets, and all those things I've had just dabbled in as an assistant coach, whether it's a recruiting coordinator, which I did for 17 years also. So I feel like I've got a well-rounded background for it, But, at this point, if one of our players messes up, it comes back on me. And that's just part of it. That's part of the job. It's part of the responsibility. And, the big thing you do is you talk to your players every day about doing the right things on and off the field. Because there's a direct correlation between taking care of business off the field and taking care of business on the field. and our players need to understand that, and they're getting better every day with it.
So you mentioned different things like dabbling and other stuff like recruiting, stuff like that, things that you didn't get a full maybe lens of as a coordinator. So kind of talk about personnel right now here early in the spring. How many high school guys have you brought in? How many guys did you retain from last year's team? And what is the transfer situation looking like?
Well, we lost quite a bit from last year's team to graduation. So we're having to replace those positions, and we still have a lot of talent. There's a lot of very good skill on our team, you know, especially on the offensive side, where before Tusculum has been a high tempo, throw the ball, you know, so we've got some really good receivers here from the recruiting in the past. And we've taken that with what we had and with the recruiting class that we have from February, you know, we feel like we're really adding to what we need. So it's a mixture of that. We weren't here long enough to really get a whole lot of transfers in. We got a young man that was a bigger sized linebacker that we moved down to defensive line, who has made a really nice transition. Young man by the name of Aiden Dark who came. We found a punter in Stephon Forbes who signed at midterm, and he has shown on the practice field that he's everything that we wanted him or will need him to be. You know, and besides that, we've got with what was here whenever we came in, you know, and that is the real challenge for us as a staff, because the systems that we have, we weren't really recruited to, or they weren't recruited to until our freshman class comes in. So that's going to be a building part of it, you know, building the program. But I think we do have talent here. I think we can be successful here. And it's going to be fun to see.
Right, so something I asked Coach Bass over at UVA Wise yesterday, who both of you in the same situation, taking over a program in your first year as the head coach. I asked him this, for you, when you come into a program like this as the first year head coach, do you look back, are you watching film of Tusculum's games from the year before then and kind of evaluating stuff that way for the players you have back, or is it just a complete like slate clean and you're kind of telling your guys like, we're starting over, I'm not even looking at what you guys did last year?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. Obviously we're going back and looking at our personnel and what they can do and what they have done on the field, you know, because that's where you find out where your recruiting needs are, you know. And so we did a lot of evaluating when we first got here of film from last year. And we went back and watched a lot of these guys that are here, watched their high school highlight tapes as well. You know, ones that didn't get on the field as much as underclassmen last year. So we've been evaluating our players here. And that's really what spring ball is for as well, is us evaluating what we have. And so we're doing that every day. And we, like I said, we feel like we've got a young group coming in of the freshmen that'll be coming in the fall. But right now, the clean slate has been, you know, to this point, it doesn't matter whatever they've done while they were here. It's everybody starting off, you know, there's no starters or backups or anything like that. We're just, we're evaluating you on what you do in front of us. So that's where we're at.
Okay. All right, man. Well, just to wrap it up a little bit, just to get more into you, I just have to ask, why football? From the time you remember picking up a football for the very first time, what do you think it was that drew to you, and why you've been in this game for your whole life?
Well, my father was a college athlete, football and baseball player. And from the time I was old enough to walk, I was doing something with a football or baseball or whatever. And I had two brothers that were older than me, and we played a lot of ball together. They beat up on me a lot, you know, like most big brothers do. But big thing was my dad was a huge sports enthusiast. He recruited for Clemson for a long time back in the 1950s and 60s. My middle name is Howard, after Frank Howard, who was the legendary coach at Clemson, and my brother was named after Don Wade, who was an assistant for Coach Howard, who ended up being the head coach at Tennessee Tech for a long time. So football's kind of in our blood. But what draws me to it is I love being a part of something that's bigger than me. I love the whole team atmosphere and aspect of it. And I love the chance of working with 100 other people all rowing in the same direction and having the same goals and aspirations, and I love that. You know, it's just being a part of a team. I've been a part of a team since I was 8 years old playing baseball, you know, and here I am, I'll be 60 in a week or so, and I still love it.
Happy early birthday for one.
Thank you.
You have a favorite sports movie?
Field of Dreams.
Okay.
You know, can't even think about it without choking up a little bit, because I was that young kid throwing ball with my dad, and it's you know, just thinking about it chokes you up a little bit.
Right.
You know, and yeah, that would have to be it. Field of Dreams.
Okay. What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite team, football team?
Oh yeah. Well, I grew up. My mom and dad were both from right around the Pittsburgh area, so I grew up a Steeler and a Pirate fan. You know, there's not many Pirate fans around anymore, but my favorite athlete of all time would be Roberto Clemente, and you know, the way he lived his life and the things that he stood for. So that's a pretty good role model to have. You know, but yeah, I'm a Steeler and Pirate diehard.
Awesome. My dad would get along with you well there with the Steelers. Just last thing for you before we wrap this thing up. You know, when you guys take the field for your home opener this fall, and you see the fans fill into those stands, what do you want them to know about Tusculum football and what to expect in the years to come?
That we're changing lives. We're doing things the right way. We're going to play as hard as we can possibly play every snap, and we're going to be physical. And we want to be very good representatives of Tusculum University and what it stands for, on and off the field, and we want to make them proud.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for taking the time. Coach Billy Taylor. So there's head coach Billy Taylor of the Tusculum University Pioneers football program, and we wish him the best, and of course all of our other local coaches that are getting that first year nod, as we definitely are excited to cover them and see what they have in store for the upcoming season in the fall. But there is one program locally that does not have a first year head coach, and in fact he's been there for quite some time. Kurt Newsome over at Emory and Henry. We plan to sit down with him and give a little preview of the Wasps coming up next week in the next edition of our Stateline Sports Reporters podcast. For now, I'm Cole Johnson. Have a great one. We'll see you next time.